Hi, and welcome to the Tea with Intuitives podcast. I'm Meli, an Akashic reader, past life psychic, and channeling coach.
And I'm Brittany. I'm an esoteric healer, Akashic record reader, and authentic empowerment coach. Each episode, we answer one of your questions about spirituality, the Akashic records, energy healing, meditation, spirit guides, and the unseen world.
So we invite you to grab your cup of tea while we explore the subject of starseeds. But before we dive into this subject, Brittany, happy card reading day!
Yay, happy card reading day. So I love that there's a day for this.
I know, I was so surprised. It's fun.
Will you be pulling a card for our audience?
Of course I will. We have to. So just make sure to stay until the end of the podcast, and I'll ask the spirit guides about what our audience needs to know today. Okay, but now let's be serious. Brittany, what tea are you drinking today?
Alrighty, I am drinking a matcha. You can see it. It's so bright. It's Pique, Pique, matcha, their sun goddess. And I don't like the taste of matcha, I'll admit it. So what I do is I put in a lot of sugar-free vanilla and a lot of oat milk.
Good. Well, I'm drinking a rose London fog latte, and I'm almost done because Brittany and I chatted so much before recording, so I don't have much left.
Yum, I love rose. We always talk about rose, but
yes,
it's the best. Okay, we have a couple shout outs. They're a little overdue, but first we need to thank these two people who left us reviews on the podcast platforms. Thank you so much. There's Lex.Liz on Apple Podcasts Canada, and there's Super LKR fan on Apple Podcasts USA. So thank you. Thank you for taking the time to give us a shout out and a review. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you to Moon Fairy for her lovely comments on Spotify. And thank you everyone for your support. And if you left a review on another platform or from another country, let us know, because we're only able to see our own country's reviews, and we will give you a shout out on the next podcast.
Yeah, I know it's really fun. Oh, wait, Meli, also someone said we were one of the top spirituality podcasts. Not like one of the top, but I guess for being new, we were pretty high in the French spirituality category.
Yes, it's a stat we got in an email, I remember.
I think that's so fun. So all these different countries, sometimes we don't see the reviews right away because of that, but thank you all so much.
Thank all the French people who aren't fully bilingual and who are watching this on YouTube and enabling the automatic subtitles. Thank you so much.
Yay! I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's dive into today's subject, but make sure to stay with us until the end because we're going to pull a card.
Brittany, do you want to start? I know starseeds are a bit of your area of expertise.
Yes. So first thing I'm going to do is shout out to an ebook. My journey with starseeds, I was like 15, maybe younger. And my grandmother had a book about starseeds that I read, and I read the list of the starseed, things, and it just totally piqued my interest. If you want to learn more about starseeds, there's a Akashic record reader. Her name is Anna Sayce, Sayce. She doesn't do readings too often, but she has a lot of ebooks. And from her information, from her channeling, she's written an ebook called The 22 Starseed Groups. I love this book because when I found it as a resource to give clients, it's just so great. Instead of me writing this book, she had already written the book that people needed to refer to, because I read through all of the 22 starseed types that she talks about, and they actually coincide very well with what I have received in my own Akashic readings for clients. So I recommend reading up on that, and every client that I send this suggestion to as an ebook also resonates really deeply with the information in it. But starseeds are souls that have, if you think of, I guess it's kind of very esoteric, right? Like the birth of a soul. The birth of a soul that comes from the great creator, from the great divine. When the soul is really energetically pushed out from great divine into the universe, the first incarnations a soul has might not be on the earth. It might be another planet, you know, however far away, even planets we don't know exist, right? I've had a couple of readings with clients where the information came through wasn't our typical 22 starseed groups, but it was from a planet very, very, very far away, something we don't know yet or hasn't been channeled yet, right? So it's very esoteric in the way that we talk about starseeds, but your soul is infinite. It's very multidimensional, and sometimes earth is not the first physical form that your soul takes. And it's really exciting because it kind of helps us explain why some of us out here being human don't always feel comfortable with the human experience, or don't always feel like this was kind of our origin story for the soul. And so that's when you might start thinking, well, maybe I'm a starseed, right? Maybe my first experience with incarnations was not on the earth, was not here on this planet. So if that resonates with you, listen to your intuition. You might be a starseed. I talk about this book a lot. If you read Journey of Souls, you will also hear a mention of souls that come from other places, and they're rare. Earthling souls don't always come into contact with these souls, but they know they exist. And sometimes they come into the earth plane to start incarnating. So that little thing is in Journey of Souls, and I love that it's in there. A lot of information now has been channeled through Pleiadian guides. So if you look up, starseed groups or psychics or people who have channeled starseeds, a lot of it's going to be Pleiadian. Pleiadian starseeds are one of the most common. And the reason why is because the Pleiades, as part of their journey, if you look up at the night sky, you can see the 7 stars that make up the Pleiades. They're also called the 7 sisters, which I love. Well, if you look up at the Pleiades, you'll probably feel a really big pull there, because there's a lot of collective Pleiadian energy already here assisting the human species in our evolution. So a lot of starseeds are from the Pleiadian sort of sector of the universe. And it's just, you can connect to that energy very easily. Also, people who connect with dolphins, or people who connect really to water, the water element itself. I'd say even air element's a part of the Pleiades as well. I've also read that birds help hold Pleiadian energy for the earth. I don't know why, but someone channeled it. It was I think it was Hand Clow who wrote the Pleiadian Agenda. That's also a great book. She channels Pleiadians a lot, Barbara Hand Clow. She's an amazing woman. But yeah, Pleiadian energy is the very first star seed kind of focus. If you're just new to this and researching, I would start there because it's very common. There's a lot of information about it. I personally have channeled Pleiadians. A lot of my clients are Pleiadian. And whenever I'm doing a group collective reading, whether it have been on Instagram Live or a family group reading, many times the Pleiadians step forward because they are sort of tasked with, like I said, humanity's evolution. So if I'm doing a collective Akashic reading, those are the people, the souls, the guides that step forward. I think it's easy to see them as people when you are so used to them being around. It's just like you're hanging out with a friend, But yeah, start there. I'm going to pause. I just threw a lot of information out. You can probably tell that this topic excites me.
Yeah, it's so interesting. Thank you for all the references. I took notes, and it's going to be on the podcast show notes if you want to take a look, people. And I have 2 questions for you. First question is, if you're feeling a bit like you're the odd one out on Earth, is it because you're a starseed?
That's a great question. So not always. The thing is, our soul is so multidimensional. And actually, one of our favorite readers, Ansley McLeod, just posted on Instagram yesterday or the day before that the soul cannot separate like mind, body, spirit. It's like it doesn't separate itself into these different categories like we humans like to do, right? The soul doesn't do that. So incarnations and traumatic experiences that happened, 10 lifetimes ago for a soul, the soul still keeps it unless it's healed and alchemized and cleared. It still keeps that memory really close to its experience. I hope I'm explaining this well, Meli. You can probably add to it, but that just gives an example of kind of your incarnational experience as a soul. The soul has a memory of everything that's happened, even if we in our human body don't have that memory, right? It's very unconscious a lot of times. In saying this, because we do carry trauma and we do carry experiences that have impacted us in a lot of deep ways, if there's a lot for us to heal, which there is, I'll be the first to admit I'm not perfect. There's still a lot for me to heal. We will feel like outsiders. We will feel very uncomfortable with the human experience. We will naturally feel resistant to the challenge of the human experience. So there is kind of a tightrope to walk between, am I an earthling? Am I a starseed? I can still be an earthling and still feel very triggered or uncomfortable with aspects of the human experience. So it is a little tricky, but I think that becomes more clear as we move forward. I have a husband and wife client duo. One of them is starseed, super starseed, matches very well with their personality and what they enjoy. And then the other of this partnership immediately knew that they were earthling through and through. But this person has gone through a lot of trauma and doesn't always feel good in the human experience. But at the core, in their hearts, they know they're earthling, like from the start to the finish, they're here.
Wow, it's so interesting. I'd like to piggyback on that and add two things. First of all, you said that the soul remembers everything, and it's true. But when we incarnate on Earth, we forget pretty much everything, because if we would remember all the traumas of maybe 100 past lives, imagine it's hard just to live with one trauma in this incarnation. So that's why we forget. It's part of why we forget. But there's always this memory, and at some point in our lives, some memories will come back when it's needed. So you might have a memory that comes back. And for me, I once went into my Akashic records just to feel that connection, and I didn't really have any specific question, and I went, okay, so what do I need to know today? And I was shown when I went from a planet, and it was before I was a starseed, Hadarian starseed. And that was before that. And I seen myself, and I had wings. It was very special. And I saw myself being told, so now you're transitioning and you're going to help another planet, another, I don't know, realm. So you can have memories of that, just like we have flashes of the afterlife and the astral plane in our lives that get triggered when different things happen to us. For example, I was with a friend yesterday, and someone close to her just passed away. And she didn't know that I was a psychic, but she ended up knowing at the end of the evening. I told her, and we're going to talk about spiritual coming outs in another episode, but she just told me, I know that right now she's in a transition period. And so her soul remembered that there's this transition period when you die, and then you meet your soul family and you do your life's review. So part of your soul has that memory. And also, I just want to say that if you're wondering if you are a starseed or earthling, you can go and get a reading to have that information. And it's always fun to know, and it resonates with who you are. For example, for me, being a Hadarian starseed, it's very much about love and unconditional love. And that's very much front and center of my life since I'm a child. So it resonated a lot. But you don't absolutely need to have that information in order for you to accomplish your life mission. Yeah. Okay, Brittany, I have another question for you.
Yeah, very well said, by the way.
Actually, it's so interesting. I have two questions for you. First of all, how do you know that you are channeling Pleiadian? How do you know that it's like these guys showing up?
Yeah, I love this question. By the way, the book I mentioned, the ebook, by Anna Sace, she says, so you feel a strong recognition with the Hadarians.
Mm-hmm.
She says they have been incarnating the soul group to planet Earth for 60,000 years, which is not a long time from her perspective. She also says that this soul group makes up around 0.5% of the world's population. Very rare.
Oh, so I'm a rare thing.
She also says that a lot of that soul group incarnated in the USA during like revolutionary times.
Like the pioneers?
The American Revolution, basically in times of Great Revolution.
Okay.
That's when a lot of these starseeds
ending segregation and all that.
Yes.
Makes sense.
And also it mentions that a lot of your starseed group they're not like anti-government, but they do think governments limit expression and freedom. So they don't enjoy government structures.
Oh, okay. Well, I would never go and work for the government, so there you go.
Right. Anyway, I just think it's fun to like put a couple little things. I mean, there's like pages on this soul group.
I need to read this book.
There's pages. So how do I differentiate? One thing that was really fun when I started giving readings, and this is like 3 years ago now, is different soul families. So if you're asking for soul family to come forward for a client that's a starseed, the soul family coming forward may not always be like human souls. It's really fun. They might not present themselves as this vibrational frequency that you would get with like just with a soul family that is specific for Earth. It's really interesting to describe. So if I was reading for a client whose soul family or soul group was at the core Pleiadian, the soul family would come forward with a blue hue, a blue vibration, and I would automatically always see the 7 stars.
Okay.
If I have a Syrian guide come forward for someone, if they're Syrian, I always see like this silver sparkle hue, and they pull me very far out into sort of the cosmos. And I know I'm in that direction, that vibrational frequency. I also see words when I channel, so it's not uncommon for me to see the word Pleiadian with the blue, or to see the word Syrian with the vibration of, silver. When I was 15, like I said earlier, my grandma said, you should look at this book. And I opened it up and it had a list of like 6 or 7 different starseed groups. I immediately went to Andromeda, the Andromedan starseed group. In the snap of a fingers, I opened it up. I immediately knew. It's really funny because my grandmother's very Pleiadian. And so her whole thought was, no, you're Pleiadian. I know that you're Pleiadian. Which is really important for me to note, because deep inside where your sort of heart energy pulls you the most, right? So never be afraid to push back, never be afraid to do your own exploration in the different sort of starseed types, because my grandmother, who I love dearly, is a mentor to me in a lot of ways, projected her sort of view of who I am onto me. And so there's a little bit of discomfort of like, am I Pleiadian? Am I Andromedan? But I know through my own Akashic records for sure what my soul group is. So if it's Andromedan that comes through, I actually remember this one reading for a client very well. It was like a huge explosion of energy of meeting another Andromedan starseed. And it was a really fun reading, right? We kind of got to connect in this multi-dimensional way of sharing that same core heart, that same core personality, soul, like soul personality qualities.
Yeah.
When we went to the Andromeda energy, it was very pink. It was sort of a purplish pink hue that pulled us really far away. And I could feel the energy of this, and it felt like home. So with every star seed energy, it's a little different. I feel the vibration. They show me the location of where it is in the cosmos, and then I also see the word for it. And Meli, we've talked about this so many times. Like giving a reading, it's like you're watching a movie, but you can feel things, you can sometimes smell things, you can hear things, you pick up on the vibration and the visuals, so it's very immersive.
Yeah. And it's so funny because I had that with a client and someone I worked with. So if you're French, you might know her. She's Alix from Bulle Incandescente. And she's giving a bonus on in my channeling class, my French one. And she was like, she's an astrologer. And she wanted to know, like, am I Arcturian? Because I think I am. And I was like, well, if she's strongly feeling the pull, there's a great chance. And then I went into her Akashic records, and spirit guides were like, of course, they were kind of laughing and showing me all the stars, because many Arcturians feel so called by the stars in general, and many astrologers are Arcturians. So it was funny to see the spirit guides laughing and going, of course. And she knew, she just wanted validation, but she knew.
So what's really fun about Arcturians is that when they come in, and actually the couple I was talking about, I'm pretty sure the one of in the couple was Arcturian, but I can't remember. It was a couple years ago, but they're so similar, so different. Earthling, possibly Arcturian. And the thing about Arcturians, they love technology. It's something about Arcturians using the advancement of technology for the advancement of the collective. So if you think of astrologers or people who are really connected to the cosmos, how are they going to be connected to the cosmos? Through technology, right? Like they're going to be using the big telescopes and the online software that can take these pictures. And like, so it makes a lot of sense. There is another book I'm going to throw at you. It's called We the Arcturians, and it's by the same woman that wrote The Light Shall Set You Free, my favorite book in the whole world. But We the Arcturians is also written by Dr. Norma milanovich, Norma, and then her last name Milanovich. I'm not really sure how to spell that, but she channeled one of her first books she ever written was because the Arcturians came to her, and they gave her some scientific information in her channelings that after she channeled it, she wrote it down. She went and tested it out, and it all fit, like the puzzle pieces came together, and it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating. So they would like tell her how to test something, and like they would channel and speak to her, and then she would go test it out and it would be accurate. So it's one of these things where you're like, is she really channeling these beings that are, you know, helping guide us in this other dimension that are here in the atmosphere, but in another dimension? Is this real? How could this be? She tests out what they tell her to really like confirm what's happening. So that one's a really good one for anyone who feels close to the Arcturians. I loved reading that book.
That's so cool. And what advice do you have for people who want to know what type of starseed they are? Should they first read books, or should they come really fresh, not knowing anything, and just ask for a reading in order to find out?
Yeah, so this is really a great question. One thing I would start with is ask. Ask that the answer find you before you go to anyone else. And the reason I say this is because they're there and they want you to remember. They want you to remember this part of yourself, because remembering this part of yourself will actually help you feel more at home here than you probably have felt before. Like, once I realized I was a part of this bigger Andromeda soul group, it totally changed my human experience. It totally changed the way that I sort of perceive the world. It helped me stop carrying so much weight on my own shoulders. So ask your starseed group, if you feel that you're a starseed, ask your starseed group to show themselves to you. And be open to what you are seeing. Be open to what you're hearing on podcasts. Be open to what books stand out to you the next time you're in a metaphysical bookstore. Be open to like what tarot cards are drawn that might say a certain energy on them versus another. First, guide yourself to be open to receiving information from your starseed family. And let it find you, because you'll know. You truly will. It's kind of like when I was 15 and I knew I was an Andromedan starseed, but even my best friend, my grandmother, was telling me she thought I was Pleiadian. You just have to listen to where your energy is pulling you. I think that would be the first step.
Great. And so there are starseeds originating from other planets, solar systems. There are earthlings who originated here. What about light workers?
Light workers. Oh, I love this question. So one thing that I find fascinating, again, The Light Shall Set You Free is a great book. Dr. Norma Milanovich, she will tell you that angels do not incarnate. That when a soul is born, they can choose if they want to take an incarnational journey, which is what everyone listening to this did. Right? We were like, sign us up. We'll do that. But angelic souls chose not to incarnate, and they chose to be the light workers, the helpers, the ones that were going to help us get through this incarnational journey. Right? So light workers are not only in the angelic kingdom, those who stayed on the other side, right? The other side, to help us, but also light workers are those who identify as people who are here to be of service. If you're a nurse, if you are someone who has signed up to be someone in a position of being of service to others, I think you're a light worker. Whether you're a nurse, an energy healer, a reader, a psychic, if you have such beautiful intentions in the service work that you do, I think you're a light worker. If you are truly striving to make the world a better place, and I don't just mean making the world a better place in one way or the other. It can be you're a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home father, and you are helping with your kids' schooling. You help with the after-school care for a lot of families. You help with a lot of the plays at the elementary or middle school. That, to me, is still a light worker, because you're bringing in a service in an aspect that calls to you. You are being to service. You're being, you're called to be of service in some way. That, to me, is still a light worker. I don't see light workers as in a box, but people who are being of service. Does that make sense?
Well, in that perspective, aren't we all light workers when we're incarnating our life missions?
That would be a great point. Yes.
Yeah.
I think so.
Oh, beautiful. So, yay, we're all light workers then.
I would say people who are in ego, a little too far in ego, are not in the space of being a light worker.
No.
But I think they're going to get there. I think the journey is to get there. If there are souls who are, I shouldn't say souls, but there are personalities who are taking over the soul experience and they're too far in ego, I think that there's a struggle. I think there's a struggle, because there's a difference from doing things to be of service for others and doing things solely for personal gain. And I think there's another tightrope to walk of balance between the two.
Yes. And spiritual awakenings can happen at any time in one's life too. So there's always that chance to turn your life around and elevate your vibrations and then incarnate what you truly are here to be, to do.
Yeah, I personally, and this could just be my own ego or personality saying this, I personally don't think everyone is a light worker yet.
Yeah. Oh,
Let's pull a card.
yeah, let's do it. So, I intentionally did not clear my deck because I wanted people to see how I do it. So, if you take my channeling class, it will soon be available in English. But if you are Francophone, I have a channeling class, and there is a module about tools to help you channel. And I show you how to work with oracle cards, which you can also apply to tarot decks. And so what I do, I want to clear the deck from all the energies of the previous reading and the previous person that I connected to. And there are many ways to do this. What I like to do is I like to take a crystal, and I oftentimes take kyanite. You can see it here, but take whatever crystal that is calling you. And then you take your deck, and I knocked 3 times. And then I like to do a figure 8 on the deck like this, and I go. So I imagine pulling all the bad juju, the unnecessary energies, and then washing them away. And I also like to open my third eye. So there we go. And so I chose the Oracle of the Seven Energies by Colette Baron-Reid. And I'm going to ask the spirit guides what the audience needs to know today. Okay. Okay. So, spirit guides, what do the Tea with Intuitives podcast audience needs to know today? What does the Tea with Intuitives podcast need to know today? What does the Tea with Intuitives podcast need to know today? Okay. I like to fan out the cards like in a kind of a rainbow or horseshoe. There we go, this middle card. Oh, wonderful. A grand symphony. Okay.
Ooh.
Okay, so this message is all about harmony and focusing on what is good in your life. So it's very much about bringing gratitude forth and having positive thoughts, focusing on what works best in your life and how all different facets of your life come together, making this grand symphony, and that makes your heart sing. Everything that you're grateful for brings you so much elevated, positive energies. It lifts your soul up. And you need to concentrate on that because it's helping you go through challenges and it's helping you go towards more harmony. It's all about putting all the pieces that work well together. And there's this odd puzzle piece that is your challenge, that is kind of phased out in your life, like your energies aren't balanced. And so by focusing on what works well and you're in harmony and you're in acceptance, then you're ready to tackle that next challenge. So what the spirit guides are mainly saying is stop worrying about the challenge right now. Take a day off where you stop thinking about what's going wrong or what course of action you can take. and just focus on everything that is good. Also focus on the people who are helping you in your life, because I'm feeling that some people may have conflicts with other people, or I'm seeing justice as well. So if you need to go to court for something, just really leave that aside, leave the people that you are fighting against aside, and really concentrate on what's good in the people who are helping you, and take at least a day really being in gratitude, in positivity. It's kind of pumping you up and making you ready to be able to take that puzzle piece that is apart from your harmonious life, and bring it into your life in a very much more in a way where you are fully accepting of this challenge, and you are calmer, and you're having that needed perspective to work on the challenge. So there you go, people. That was the Grand Symphony card and the message that I channeled from the spirit guides.
Woohoo!
Yay.
Love it.
Yay, happy card reading day again. Thank you for listening to the Tea with Intuitives podcast.
If you have questions for us, you can send it. Our email is teawithintuitives@gmail.com, or via Instagram or YouTube.
Your love for this podcast helps us grow and reach more like-minded souls. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast.
Have a beautiful week.